Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here. When Dan Mullen first got the job at Florida, coming from Mississippi State, for an outsider like me who just evaluates college football and looks at the numbers and the evaluation on the surface, it's difficult to say if a coach at Mississippi State can go to Florida, and then obviously the expectations of the recruiting is so much higher, from being, let's say, 30th in the country to wanting to have and needing to have top 10 classes at Florida. So coming into the head coaching position at Florida, was it a known factor, or did people conclude that this was not a strength of his?
Concluded that it wasn't a strength, but Mark, I think the hope was he knew he had been at Florida under Urban Meyer.
Yeah,
where it was live or die. You
yes.
ate and you know it at Ohio State. I mean, you know Urban Meyer's approach to recruiting, and then you're going to be a head coach at Mississippi State where you're playing the best to ever do it. Year in and year out. You know what it takes. You learn from one of the best. You played against the other best, all at the same time. So don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of appreciation for coaches to want to do it their way. But when you learn from the best and go against the best, you know what it takes, especially in the SEC. Now, of course, can you get away with it at other places and you can make the playoff in a year where you're not recruiting at a top 5-ish, 7-ish level? Of course you can. But in the SEC, when it's Florida, or when it's Georgia, when it's Alabama, when it's LSU, when it's Texas A&M, and it's Auburn, those programs recruit at the level or better than you right now. And then you're going to add 2 more to the mix with Texas and Oklahoma. So, the future kind of comes into play here a little bit too. But Mark, I'll go back, and I tweeted this long thread the other day. At 2018, when Dan Mullen was hired, he was the absolute right man for the job. Florida at that time really just needed to dig out of a hole. They needed to dig out of an offensive hole. And I thought along the way, he knew what it would take as far as recruiting goes to get Florida back to a level, because of what I said, him learning from Urban, him learning against Saban, of what it takes year in and year out to be at a championship level. Now, can you be in Auburn and beat Alabama once every 3-4 years and you take your chances, and that means a college football playoff or a national championship berth? Yeah, sure. But is that what you want to be? Is that what you want to have to fall back on? You shouldn't have to. And for, besides this year, I know it's not, and maybe even the end of last year, Dan Mullen's getting questioned as a game day coach and a play caller a little bit as well. But given his overall reputation in that department, you pair that up with a top 5 roundabout recruiting class, pair that up with his coaching acumen, Florida's probably going to win a championship more times, not more times not, but eventually going to win a championship. Recruiting's not even at that level right now.
David, I don't want to misrepresent what I believe you've stated here and also tweeted, so I'm going to state it this way because I completely agree with it. When you've got a Nick Saban, who's the greatest of all time, in your own division or in the conference, yes, is that something to say, wow, we've had to go up against this? We haven't been playing in the Pac-12 or the ACC Coastal for the last 10 years. We've had to go up against this. But, hey, that's the environment. That's the circumstance. You're being paid a ton of money to win championships, compete for championships. And nothing says that Alabama is going to be the greatest of all time and the best. And that's all the way that's what it is. There were generations gone by and not too long ago when Florida was better than Alabama, that Auburn was better than it. This is not set in stone and written in history that Alabama always has to be number 1. They can be dethroned. It isn't just a default that we give up. We can never get past this.
Mark, I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of Gator fans will throw out there, it's not fair to compare to Nick Saban and Alabama. Why isn't it? Why? You think Georgia, when they hired Kirby Smart, well, we can't be Alabama. We won't. That's not their goal. They're not sitting there saying, well, you can't compare us to Alabama. No, they want to be compared to Alabama, and that's the mindset. And they have done everything in their power to do so. And now I know, keep talking about Gator Nation and the Gator fan base. Look, I'm part of it too. I know. And they will sit here and throw, well, what has Georgia won? It doesn't matter what Georgia's winning. They're keeping Florida from winning. I could care less how many national championships Georgia has. they're keeping Florida from winning national championships with their level of recruiting and beating Florida in Jacksonville more times than not since Dan Mullen has taken over. So it's not about what Georgia is doing in the grand scheme of things. It's about what they're doing to keep Florida from doing what they should be doing. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Mark, I mean, not to sound too down on Dan Mullen, if he's willing to change his ways and staffing and recruiting, keep him. I mean, but he's got to be willing to make those changes. I think he's the right guy. Like I said, you pair his coaching with the talent level, I think he can do it. But there's going to be some looking in the mirror from administration, from athletic director, Dan Mullen, players, coaches, all that needs to happen for this thing to get turned around and be a title contender year in and year out.